Hello, fellow card lovers. I'm Lisa Young Sutton, and welcome to my humble channel. In today's video, I'm sharing a box spread that combines the Petit Lenormand with the Kipper cards. Now, if you've seen my previous two Kipper videos, you know that I don't follow the exact traditional system, which I liken to the traditional method of distance system for the Petit Lenormand, in that it's got a lot of rules and guidelines, and there are a lot of things to study before you actually start using the cards. So many of you have contacted me asking me to share an easier and more intuitive way to use these cards. And because I read them in the same way that I read Lenormand, I think you'll really enjoy my approach. Now, next week, I am going to create a video that runs through the general card meanings and guidelines for how I use the cards, which, as I just said, are the same as my guidelines for Lenormand. So if you're already reading Lenormand or understanding how I read Lenormand, you're going to be able to just pick up those Kipper cards and use them in exactly the same way. Okay, for now, I want to share a reading that I just performed for a young man, which really showcases why the Kipper cards can add so much depth and insight to your Lenormand readings. Now, this reading was performed for a young man who was interested in shadow work. And his question was, what is the source of my critical self-image? Now, I have to say that as soon as he asked the question, he told me that he blames his father and that he was quite sure that the cards would confirm that. Okay, so let's see what his higher self relayed. Now, I am using Tony the Card Geek's decks, her Kipper deck and her Petit Lenormand, which combine beautifully together, just as the, the mystical Kipper and Lenormand decks combine beautifully too. You know, they're the same size, the same, they just go together. Okay, now, what I do is I shuffle here, and you can see right here, I shuffle the two decks together, okay? And then I swoosh them in a pile on the table. I don't want to mess this up here, which I already am. All right, but I swoosh them all in a pile, right? And then, as I always do, I draw the cards by feel, but I do this with squinty eyes, I call it, or soft eyes, because I don't want to actually see from which card system I'm drawing cards. You know what I mean? I don't want to be influenced by that. I don't want to start drawing cards and then kind of stop myself and say, oh, you're only drawing Lenormand cards, you need some Kipper, and then go looking for that, you know? So I want to always keep the cards coming to me as they will without my influence. So I draw them with squinty eyes. Okay. Now, because I have no middle focus card, in other words, I did not lay a card here purposely, I just lay all my boxes out in order from 1 to 9. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now, what I immediately noticed was how the cards fell. I mean, first of all, I have equal numbers. I have 4 Lenormand and 4 Kipper cards, and they kind of grouped together, didn't they? They like hanging with their own, I guess, you know? So I thought that was really interesting. I also found it interesting that he appeared here, too. His card shows up. Okay, so now the first thing that I pointed out to him was the fact that his father's card doesn't appear. Okay, it did not show up, nor did any card representing a parent or an older person as an influencer, which is what he's been blaming everything on, right? The cards clearly showed that his poor self-image is of his own making. Now, he appears in the spread right here, And his position shows that he's carrying a lot of baggage as he moves through life, right? Here he is, you know, and he's heading to the future, but he's kind of dragging all this with him. All right. Now, what's weighing on his mind is the card of self-pity. This is a card of psychological issues, and it falls in the mental position, right? Yeah. Now, what he's got firmly established within himself is what he's standing on, right? This is what he's mastered, what he owns. This is his foundation. So you can say this is what's firmly established within him. And it's the mice card, which indicates anxieties that have been gnawing away at him for a long time. Okay, remember recently everybody was asking about the difference between the stress of the birds card and the mice. Well, the mice is that underlying slow eating away, gnawing away, nibbling, gradually creating a diseased environment, stealing something from you gradually, okay? Yeah. All right. So, you know, whereas the birds are those everyday stresses that just hit you and they disappear as quickly as they came. Okay. All right. Now, the center card is the Lenormand moon, which speaks of perceptions and what one has their spotlight on, right? The moon is the spotlight. What are you focused on? And like who's focusing on you? But you can also see it as what are you focusing on? Okay, now take note of how the Kipper and Lenormand combine in the cards above and below to provide a clear picture of one who is blaming others. Right? We've got theft and we have garden. So we have garden representing other people. Okay, just general other people, not his father, all right, or even a relative. This is just, you know, people in your environment, the public, okay? Is stealing something from him. That's what he's perceiving, okay? He's also perceiving these other people as, you know, robbing him. He's blaming others for his own inadequacies, okay? We could say he doesn't feel respected by others and even sees others as robbing him of his deserved self-respect, right? Now, in other words, he's looking for his sense of self from others rather than looking within himself, which is the only place it can be found. Okay, your self-respect can only be found internally. You cannot get it from others. Okay, if you're waiting, you know, for the world to tell you how great you are, it just might, and then the next day it could take it back. So you can never rely on that. It has to come from within. Now, the living room, this was really interesting. The living room Kipper card represents his inner mind. And in a better position, this card would indicate a healthy sense of self or being comfortable or at home with yourself. But here, it falls in the hidden issue space and is influenced. Look at the two cards that are influencing it. We have the prison and gloomy thoughts. All right? So the prison card, within the context of this reading, based on this question, the prison card represents restriction, self-consciousness, hidden or trapped secrets, and self-inflicted constraints. Okay, he's put himself in this prison. Gloomy thoughts adds the concept of misinterpretation and insecurity. Okay? And these are the things that are influencing and impacting his inner world, his inner sense of self. Okay, now looking at his primary diagonal, okay, we have two diagonals in a box, right? This is what I call the primary diagonal. This is my alternate diagonal. Okay, that primary diagonal line, we can see a clear story of one who perceives himself, there's the moon, perceives himself as being held against his will, prison, okay? By a lack of recognition from others, that's the moon, and self-punishment, that's the prison, that's been polluting, this is the mice, his mind and stealing, mice steal, right? What should be a healthy self-image. Okay? So the answer for this young man is to stop blaming his father or anyone else for his insecurities and begin the healing process by examining his own thoughts and beliefs about who he really is. Okay, that the prison that's been holding him all of these years now has an unlocked door, but it's up to him to walk through that door fearlessly and begin the process of healing himself. Oh, I loved this reading. He loved this reading. This was just, you know, it was one of those readings where like we both left each other thrilled. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. But more importantly, I hope that you're now inspired to begin combining these two systems without worrying about all the rules associated with the traditional Kipper system, which is, like I said, why I made this video, because so many of you asked for that. And I have to, you know, just add a little disclaimer that the traditional Kipper system is quite amazing. And if you want to study it, head right over to the WDA, to the World Divination Association, and Tony is a master of teaching it, and she has all kinds of courses, and you will find that information in the description box below, okay? So what I'm trying to show you here is that these Kipper cards can be used just as you use any other cards. They are highly conducive to intuitive reading, and they can add so much to your Lenormand readings that I really want you to, if you have them, get them out, start using them. If you don't have them, you know, go online and get a deck and start incorporating them into your Lenormand practice. Okay, so that's it for today, my friends. As I mentioned, I'll be sharing an educational intuitive Kipper video next week, along with another Grand Jeu Lenormand video. And don't forget that I have a Facebook practice group where you can play with Lenormand and Kipper and Grand Jeu Lenormand and Oracle cards, and check that description box below. All right, for all that information. For now, keep your vibration high and your cards nearby, and have fun playing your way through life. Bye, everybody.